All right, let's jump right in. We're all playing with AI coding assistants, right? But how do we go from just asking for a quick code snippet to, actually collaborating with them? Today, we're going to walk through one developer's story of building a really powerful, repeatable workflow that turns the AI from just a tool into a genuine thinking partner.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? These tools can make you feel like a superhero, but they can also make you just good enough to be dangerous. Think about it. When you're learning something new, the AI seems amazing. But as this developer found out, you have no idea when it's being confidently wrong because, well, you don't know what's right yet. And that is the core problem we've got to solve.
So, this first part of the story is all about that early struggle. That dilemma of learning to work with an AI when you're not some super senior dev. It's really about figuring out how to build a safety net for yourself, a system that protects you from the AI's biggest, scariest flaw. Its incredible, almost unshakable confidence, even when it's totally, completely wrong. Now, what makes this so great is who's taking us on this journey. This isn't some coding prodigy from a top university. Nope, this is a self-taught coder, someone who thinks more in terms of systems and automation. It makes this whole thing feel so much more relatable, right? It proves you don't have to be a genius to really master these new AI workflows.
Okay, so to fight that whole confidently wrong problem, the author came up with this really simple but totally crucial learning loop. It goes like this. The AI suggests something. But, and this is the key, you don't just copy and paste it. No way. You force yourself to understand what it's doing. Then you validate it. Does it actually work? Is it the best way to do it? And only then, after all that, do you really learn. It's basically a framework for not getting tricked by the machine.
All right, so with that critical thinking loop in mind, let's talk about the tools. Because finding the right one wasn't just a simple A to B journey. Oh no. It was a whole process of trial and error, a bunch of failures, and then finally, a breakthrough.
The path started out a little rough. Early AI agents would just kind of take over and, break things. It felt super risky, so the author pulled back a bit and started using tools like Perplexity and Google AI Studio more like a Shifu, a wise master teacher, where they were always in control. They even tried Cursor again, but it just didn't feel right for the big complex stuff. And then they tried Claude Code. And that's when it all finally clicked. And this is such a key moment, a real turning point. Because the big realization wasn't about finding some magical tool that does everything for you. The breakthrough was understanding that success comes from having a solid, repeatable process. The tool's important, yeah, but it's really just there to support the workflow. This right here is the mindset shift that changed the whole game. The AI stopped being this vending machine for code snippets. Instead, it became a persistent mentor. A partner you could actually think through problems with, explore new territory, and patch up the holes in your own knowledge.
So what does this new workflow actually look like in practice? Well, the author boiled it all down to 5 foundational practices. These are the real-deal, concrete techniques that make this kind of AI collaboration work so well.
First up, practice number 1. Always start with @init. Every single time you start a new project or even just jump into a new codebase, you run this simple command. It sounds basic, but it has this really powerful dual purpose.
And what's so smart about this is how it helps both sides of the partnership. For the AI, it sets the stage, right? It tells it the tech stack, the coding style, the rules of the road. This stops it from just spitting out random useless code. But for you, the developer, it creates this instant, super smart README file that actually becomes a personal learning tool you can go back to again and again. Okay, practice number 2 is all about tackling complexity. Instead of throwing one giant messy problem at the AI, you break it down. You create what are called subagents to handle all the smaller pieces. What this does is let you basically work on things in parallel. Each subagent gets to be a little specialist, focusing on one thing and doing it really well. And you can even set a simple rule to get started, something like, hey, for any given task, use a minimum of 2, but a max of 5 subagents. It's like giving your AI its own little team. Practice number 3 introduces a really cool concept, Master Control Programs, or MCPs. The easiest way to think about these is like plugins that give your AI real-time read-only access to other important services. This gives it all the context it needs without you having to constantly copy and paste stuff in. Let's make this real with a couple of examples.
There's a Supabase MCP that keeps the AI totally up to date on your database schema and security policies, which is amazing for planning migrations. And then there's a GitHub MCP. Get this, it uses the context of your entire coding session to write ridiculously detailed and helpful commit messages. Honestly, they're probably better than what most of us would write ourselves.
All right, next up is a really simple but powerful habit, using plan mode. This is all about forcing a pause. It's about making the AI stop, think, and analyze a problem before it even thinks about writing a single line of code.
You're basically telling the AI, look, read this, understand it, but don't write any code yet. It completely shifts the dynamic from just generating code to actual strategic analysis. And this is so useful for those really complex tasks or when you're doing a big refactor.
And finally, we have practice number 5. This one is all about wisdom and just being efficient. It's about recognizing that, yeah, AI is powerful, but it is not always the right tool for every single job.
You gotta learn not to use a sledgehammer to hang a picture, you know? For the big, complicated stuff with lots of unknowns, stuff that needs real reasoning, AI is your best friend. But for those simple, repetitive tasks, a basic automation script that you create once and then just reuse forever is often way faster, cheaper, and more effective. Knowing when to use which is a total game changer for productivity.
So after going through all these practices and tools, we land on what is, without a doubt, the most important piece of the whole puzzle. Everything we've talked about is designed to help you, not replace you. Your brain, your critical thinking, is still the most vital component in this whole system.
And that's really the ultimate lesson here. This whole workflow isn't just a trick to code faster. It's a system built to make you a better thinker, a more creative problem solver, and a much faster learner. The AI becomes a partner that just elevates your own game.
Which leaves us with this one last, really fascinating question to chew on. As these AI partners get better and better, is it possible that the most valuable skill for a developer in the future won't be writing perfect code, but instead it'll be about asking perfect questions?